Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Half Paper Friday walkthrough for the foundation paper. It's a calculator paper this week. Question 1. Write 0.013 as a fraction. We're going to use our calculator for this one. We type in 0.013 and then press execute. 13 thousandths. Here is a cuboid. How many vertices does the cuboid have? Vertices is plural for vertex, and a vertex is where two straight edges meet, which is a corner. So we're going to be counting the corners of the cuboid. We can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we've got an eighth corner at the back of the cuboid. A cuboid has 8 vertices. Question 3. Here are some patterns made from triangles. Complete the table. I noticed that the pattern number multiplied by 2 gives me the number of triangles. 4 times by 2 is 8. 5 times by 2 is 10. How many triangles are needed for pattern 12? I'm going to use my calculator to multiply 12 by 2 to get 24. Max says that pattern number 40 has 82 triangles. Max is wrong. So when it's a question that wants us to show that somebody's wrong, it's helpful to just do the question ourselves. We're going to do 40 times by 2, which gives me 80. So we can see that Max is wrong. Now we need to explain why he's wrong. Max is wrong because the pattern number doubled gives us the number of triangles. And that's done. Question number 4. Here's a sketch of the end of a roof of a toy house. Draw an accurate diagram of the end of the roof. So what we need to not do is to think that this means that we need to draw a 3-dimensional roof, because it doesn't. It means we're going to use a ruler and a protractor to construct this triangle. So we need to draw an 8 centimetre line, and when we're drawing a line, we go from 0. That's an 8 centimetre line, and because it's a diagram, we need to label with the measurement. Then we're going to use a protractor to measure two 50-degree angles from the right and left of the triangle. We're going to do the same from the right. And then we're going to write on our labels of 50 degrees in both angles. And we're going to leave our construction lines because we will get a mark for it. So we'll leave the construction lines. If we rub them off, we would lose 1 mark. And that's done. Question 5. Brian collected some information about the heights of 19 plants. This information is shown on the stem and leaf diagram. So there's 2 methods we could use to find the median. The median is the middle value. So we could start by crossing off the smallest and then the largest until we're left with one in the middle. So we could do 1148, 1244, 1341, 1341. Then we need to make a decision. So we've done 4 of the smallest, 4 of the largest. So we'll go for a small one, 23, and then 37, 23 and 36, 25 and 26, 29 and 32, 29 and 32, and that leaves us with 30 as the median. We could also do n add 1 divided by 2 to find the one in the middle. That gives me 19, add 1 divided by 2, because we know there's 19 plants. That means the 10th plant is the one in the middle in terms of height. And if we count the number of pieces of data, the 10th is 30. Question 6, Tia has a tube of sweets. There's 5 sweets in the tube. There is 1 sweet of each of these colours in the tube, and that's going to be important for this question. Tia takes 2 sweets at random from the tube. Write down all the possible combinations of the colours she can take. So let's start with red. Because it's taking there's only 1 sweet of each colour and we're taking 2, we need to understand that there's no repeat, so we can't have a red and then a red, because that's the same colour and it's just 1 sweet of each colour. So we start with red, blue. We can get a red and a green, a red and a yellow, a red and a pink. Then we consider the blues, but before we go straight in with writing blue and red, we've already got red and blue, so we don't need to write that one down. So we're going to start with blue green, blue yellow, blue pink. Then we do the same with green. Because we've already got red and green and blue and green, we don't need a repeat. So we're going to start with green and yellow, green and pink. And then we do the same with yellow. We don't need yellow and red, yellow, blue and yellow, green, because we've already got them. So we just need a yellow and pink. So in total we've got 10 outcomes and we've listed them. What is the probability she takes a red and a yellow sweet from the tube? A common mistake with this question that we see is that we think that we've got red and yellow, so that's 2 outcomes out of 5 in total. That's wrong. What we need to be looking at instead is, we've now got the combinations from part A and we can count them. There's 10. So the answer is out of 10. And there's only 1 outcome that is a red and a yellow sweet. So it's 1/10. Question 7, Deacon takes his car to a garage. The car has 5,000 mile service and it also has an MOT test. Work out Deacon's total bill. So in the table, I can see that we need to do a 5,000 mile service and an MOT test. So I need to find 79% plus VAT at 20%. So VAT is value added tax. So I need to find 20% of £79 and add it on. There's a few ways that we can add 20% to £79. We can use a decimal multiplier, or we could just find 20% of £79 and add it on. So 20% times by 79 gives me the 20% of 79. You can use your percent button on your calculator to do this. That's £15.80. And I can add that on to 79 to find the total cost for the service that we need. £94.80. We can do the same with the MOT test. 20% of 39 gives me the 20%. £7.80. We can add that on to the 39 to find the total cost of the MOT with the VAT added. It's £46.80. And then we're going to add those two values up to find the total bill. £141.60. Remembering with money we need 2 decimal places if the calculator only shows 1. Jake bought his car for £20,000. The car depreciated by 20% in the first year and then depreciated by 10% in the second year. Work out the value of the car at the end of the second year. A common mistake that we see is people think that you find 30% of 20,000 and subtract it, but this is a repeated percentage change, so we need to take each of the decreases, which is what depreciate means, once at a time. So I'm starting with 20,000, and I'm going to find 20% of that, and I'm going to subtract it. So I'm going to use my calculator for that. 20% times by 20,000 gives me 4,000, and then I'm going to work out 20,000, take away 4,000, gives me 16,000 after the first year. Then I need to use 16,000 and reduce that by 10%. So I'm going to work out 10% times by 16,000, 1,600. I'm going to take that off to get my answer of £14,400. Question 8. There are some blue, red and green counters in a bag. It tells me that there's twice as many blue counters as red counters. Let's just get that table set up a bit differently. Blue, red and green. There's twice as many blue counters as red counters. That's a ratio of 2 to 1. There are 3 times as many red counters as green counters. That's a ratio of 3 to 1. What we can do now is combine these ratios to find the ratio of blue to red to green. We found the lowest common multiple of the common ratio. So the common ratio is with red. The lowest common multiple of 1 and 3 is 3. So I can see that I can keep this one the same. I can just times everything by 1 to get the green part in the ratio. But everything in the top ratio I'm going to multiply by 3 because 1 times 3 is 3. So that gets me 2 times 3, which is 6. What you'll notice is that the ratio 2 to 1 is equivalent to 6 to 3. So there's still twice as many blues as reds. And there's still 3 times as many reds as greens. So that ratio is now combined, giving me a ratio of 6 to 3 to 1. Question 9 is our angles. So we've got ABC is a straight line. Angle BCD is 38 degrees. The reflex angle BCD is 250 degrees. Work out the size of the angle marked X and give reasons, which are going to be important to get all full marks. So to start with, I recognise that I can find this angle. That's 110. We're going to call it BDC. That equals 110 because angles around a point add to 360. The next angle that I can work out is the angle DBC. And I know that I can work that one out because I've got 2 known angles now of the triangle, and angles in a triangle add up to 180. So I can work that out doing 180 take away 110, take away 38, which is 32. So DBC is 32 because angles in a triangle add to 180. And the last part, I can work out the value of X now. So we're going to call it X equals, I can do 180 minus 32, which is 148 degrees, because angles on a straight line add to 180. If you found that the angle X was 148 degrees, but you didn't write any of the reasons down, the maximum you can get is 2 marks. Question number 10. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals 2x minus 3 for values of x from -2 to 3. So we can use the table of values mode on the calculator, or we can use the calculator to find the values of x, and we can draw our own table of values from -2 to 3. So we'll start off by doing that. So we'll start with our values of x first. That's going to be -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 and 3. And what we can do is we can just find the value of the one from the right. So we're going to start with the positive values. We can use our calculator for it. We can use the table mode. But we can also substitute the value of x into the equation to find the value of y. Y equals 2 3's minus 3 gets us a value of 6, take away 3, which is 3. We can find the next value by doing y equals 2 lots of 2 minus 3, which gives me y equals 4 minus 3, which is 1. And because it's a straight line, what I know now is that I can keep subtracting 2 to get my following values. So there's my table of values completed. Now I'm going to draw my axes. I need to use a ruler. And what we can do with these is, if it's a GCSE paper and we're plotting our own axes, we can check if the paper anywhere along the paper has got a set of axes, and it'll just help us. But if it hasn't, just use the full space that's given to us. That's my y-axis. And that's my x-axis. I'm going to label that y and x. I'm going to label that 0. And then we need to remember it's -1, -2, -3, -4. And then looking at my values for y, the lowest number is -7. The highest value is going to be 3. So we can just go up in ones. And down in ones. Our scales need to be consistent. So the first line that I'm going to plot is 0, -3. We could have started with -2, -7, -1, -5, 0, -3, 1, -1, 2, 1, 3, 3. We get our ruler and we plot the line. That's the line y equals 2x minus 3. Question 11. A water container has 19.5 litres of water in it. A cup holds 210 millilitres of water. Cody says at most 92 cups can be filled completely from the water container. Cody is correct, explain why. So I notice that we've got some inconsistent units. We've got litres and millilitres. So I'm going to deal with that first by writing down what I know. Litres and millilitres, 1 litre is 1,000 millilitres. And I'm going to change 19.5 litres into millilitres by timesing by 1,000. 19,500. Now I need to calculate how many 210s are in 19,500. So I'm going to divide using the calculator. That gives me 92.857142. And that shows me that I've got 92 full cups and some left over. Question 12. A square has side lengths of 8.4 centimetres. Work out the length of the diagonal. So what's important about a square is it has 4 right angles and its side lengths are equal. So what I can draw there then is a right angle triangle, which will allow me to work out the length of the diagonal. On my formula sheet, it's got the formula for Pythagoras. It tells me that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. When using Pythagoras, we're going to label the sides of the triangle with a, b and c. The hypotenuse is always c because it is the longest side of the right angle triangle. So I'm going to substitute the values into this equation. 8.4 squared add 8.4 squared equals c squared. That gets me 1 mark. And then I can use my calculator to work out what 8.4 squared is. (70.56) add 70.56 equals c squared. Gives me 141.12. And I'm going to solve that equation by square rooting both sides to find the value of the diagonal, or the length of it. So square root of 141.12 gives me 11.8793, and it continues. And I need to round to 3 significant figures. 1, 2, 3. That 7 tells me to round 8 up to 9, 11.9 centimetres to 3 significant figures. Question 13. Megan draws a diagram of a circular pond with a path around it. The pond has a radius of 5 metres and the path has a width of 1 metre. Work out the area of the path and give your answers to 3 significant figures. So with this question, it's important to recognise we're going to work out the area of 2 circles and then find the difference in areas by subtracting. So we've got a large circle and a small circle. The small circle's radius is 5 metres, and where I say the small circle, that's this one here. And the area of, the radius of the large circle is the sum of 5 and 1, because the width for the path is 1, which gives me 6 metres. On my formula sheet, it reminds me the area of a circle is pi r squared. So the area of the large circle is pi times 6 squared. My calculator gives me in terms of pi, 36 pi. The area of the smaller circle is pi times by 5 squared, which gives me 25 pi. I'm going to leave them in terms of pi, and I'm going to find the difference by subtracting. It gives me 11 pi, which is the area of the path, which I need to give to 3 significant figures. So the area is 34.5575. That continues. First, second, third significant figure. That tells me that I need to round 5 up because it's 5 or above, giving me an area of 34.6 metres squared. The final question, 14, is the boxes on a table. The area of the box in contact with the table is 1,500 centimetres squared. The pressure on the table is 28 newtons per metre squared. Work out the force exerted by the box on the table and give your answer to the nearest whole number. So the first thing I need to recognise is we've got different units of area, so we're going to change them to the same one by writing down what we know about metres and centimetres. 1 metre is 100 centimetres. So because we're in an area, we're in 2 dimensions, so we're going to square those numbers to get the conversion of 1 to 10,000. So I'm going to divide 1,500 by 10,000 to get the area in terms of metres squared, which gives me 0.15. And now we've converted that area into metres squared, we can calculate the force. Write down what we've been given. Pressure equals force divided by area. We can use that to substitute our values in. So we know that the pressure is 28 newtons per metre squared on an area of 0.15 metres squared. Force equals pressure times by area. So we're going to multiply those numbers together to get an answer. Of 4.2. And then we're going to round that to the nearest whole number, which is 4. I hope the video was useful. Well done for improving your paper, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.